Hey guys, Miss Jones here. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators, and this is a really important topic to review as we'll be talking about fractions and equations in the upcoming days. So please write down these example problems as we do a few together so that you're ready for your Khan Academy and your assignment after you watch the video. So the first example I want to do with you is where we are adding 1/4 plus 1/7. Now, when you are adding fractions, you must have a common denominator, meaning that your denominators have to be the same. And obviously 4 and 7 are not the same denominator. So here's a method where you can figure out the least common denominator, and you might need to use this method or you might just know what it is off the top of your head, but either way, I'll show you what this method is. So my first denominator is a 4, so I'm going to count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, and I could keep on going. My second denominator is a 7, so I'm going to count by 7s now to see my multiples of 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, and so on. Now, if you know your times tables, you probably will not have to do this. However, if you do not know your times tables or have them memorized, this will be a helpful trick for you. Now, when I look at my multiples of 4 and I look at my multiples of 7, my smallest number that both my 4 and my 7 share is 28. So 28 is going to be my least common denominator. So I'm going to multiply 1/4 times a number so that I can get a denominator of 28. And I know that 4 times 7 gives me 28, so I will multiply my first fraction by 7/7. And I can multiply by 7/7 because that is the same as 1. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and when I multiply by 1, I do not change the original number I start with. Now I'm going to move on to my second fraction of 1/7. I know that 7 times 4 gives me 28, so I'm going to multiply 1/7 times 4/4. Okay, now that I've got this written out, I'm going to go ahead and multiply out my numerators and denominators in order to get a common denominator. So 1 times 7 is 7, 4 times 7 is 28, plus 1 times 4 is 4, and 7 times 4 is 28. Now you can see that my denominators are the same, they're 28. So I can add up my numerators. 7 plus 4 is 11, and my denominator is 28. And I cannot reduce this fraction. So this is my final answer. All right, let's try a couple more. Now I'm going to try two numbers that are mixed numbers. This is example number 2. So I'm going to use 1 4/5 plus 2 1/8. Okay, so when I have mixed numbers, meaning I have a whole number and a fraction, I always want to convert these to improper first, as this will help me not make mistakes. So 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9, so I have 9/5, plus 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17, 17/8. Okay, once I've got this, I need to look at my denominators. I've got a 5 and an 8. These are not common denominators, so I understand that I have to multiply my 5 and my 8 by a number to get a common denominator. So I understand that my common denominator would be 40. So I will go ahead and multiply 5 9 over 5 times 8 over 8, because 5 times 8 is 40. And I'm going to multiply my second fraction by 5 over 5. 8 times 5 gives me 40. So now I'll just multiply out each fraction. 9 times 8 is 72. 5 times 8 is 40. Plus 17 times 5. Now, most likely we don't know what that is off the top of our heads, so I'm going to multiply out 17 times 5. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. So that's 85 over 40. Okay, now at this point, my denominators are the same. I've got a common denominator of 40, so I know that I can just add my numerators. So 72 plus 85. 5 plus 2 is 7. 8 plus 7 is 15. So I've got 157 over 40. Now my last step is to turn this improper fraction into a mixed number. And I know I need to do that because my number on top, my numerator, is larger than my denominator. So I'm going to write out my multiples of 40 to see how many 40s fit into 150. Or in other words, I'm going to divide out 157 by 40 to see how many 40s or how many groups of 40 fit into 157. So I know 40 times 1 is 40, 40 times 2 is 80, 40 times 3 is 120, and 40 times 4 is 160. 160 is too big, so I must use 120, and that's 3 fours. So 3 whole 4s fit into 157, and that was 120. And I have 37 left over. So my remaining amount is 37. So my final answer to this question is that 157 out of 40 is 3, and 37 out of 40. All right, last problem I want to do with you is subtraction. Go ahead and write down this last question. I've got 4 and 2/7 minus 1 and 1/7. Now, in this case, my denominators are the same, so I'm just going to go ahead and convert both of these fractions to improper. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2 is 30 out of 7, minus 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8, 8 over 7. Now, 30 minus 8 is 22 out of 7. And again, my numerator is bigger than my denominator, so I need to change this to a mixed number. I know that 7 can fit into 22 3 times. And 7 times 3 is 21. So I have a remainder of 1, or 1 left over. So my final answer is 3 and 1 out of 7. Okay, now that you're done watching this review on how to add and subtract fractions, you are going to go ahead and do a Khan Academy assignment, and then you will do 10 practice questions with adding and subtracting fractions with the same and different denominators. Remember that if you have different denominators, you have to first get a common denominator before you can add or subtract your numerators. Also recall that you need to convert your mixed numbers into improper fractions first, as this will make the process of subtraction a lot easier for you. If you have any questions as you go, please do not hesitate to message me on Canvas. I'll be around all day and I will be happy to answer any questions you have. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and I will talk to you tomorrow.